Yes, welcome everyone. Welcome to the Marijuana Time Show. I'm your host, Joe Klare. It's March 13th, 2018. You find every episode of the Marijuana Time Show on marijuanatimes.org. Easily shareable with your social media friends. You can also find a bunch of great articles there by myself and many other great writers about the cannabis community, industry, and beyond. Today we're talking about the world's largest producer and exporter of cannabis for medicinal and scientific use. Which country that is may surprise you. Also give you medical marijuana news out of Missouri and out of Florida. You may remember there's been some problems in Florida, but I think that authorities there, when it comes to the delay in medical marijuana, have found a great solution. We'll talk about all of that coming up. But first, of course, I have to tell you the Marijuana Time Show is brought to you by NatureSideCannabis.com and their line of all natural organic pesticides. Grow safe and poison-free. Don't put harmful chemicals and pesticides on your cannabis grow. You don't want people ingesting that, especially medical marijuana patients with already compromised immune systems. Also, well, you want to pass regulations in your state. If there's legal cannabis cultivation in your state, there's probably some kind of regulations regarding pesticide use. Natureside Cannabis pesticides are approved for use in cannabis cultivation in Colorado, Oregon, and Washington. Take advantage of their products and their expertise. Grow safe and poison-free and be regulatory compliant. NatureSideCannabis.com, a proud sponsor of the Marijuana Time Show. Side is spelled C-I-D-E. Natureside Cannabis. They're awesome, and go check them out. This first story is from marijuanatimes.org, written by yours truly. The world's largest producer and exporter of legal cannabis is, drumroll please, I wish I had some sound effects, but I do not, it's the United Kingdom. To end the suspense, since there was no drumroll, I think the suspense was already killed, kind of. The United Kingdom is the world's largest producer and exporter of legal cannabis. According to a new report from the UN's International Narcotics Control Board, the United Kingdom is the world's largest producer and exporter of legal cannabis for medical and scientific use. UK is responsible for about 45% of the world's legal production of cannabis and about 67% of total world exports of cannabis. Yet cannabis possession for any reason remains prohibited in the United Kingdom. It is scandalous and untenable for the UK government to maintain that cannabis has no medical uses, at the same time as licensing the world's biggest government-approved medical cannabis production and export market. That's according to Steve Rolls from the drug policy group Transform. He went on to say, UK patients are either denied access and suffering unnecessarily, they're forced to buy cannabis from the criminal market. Now, second, in terms of producing and exporting cannabis, legal cannabis, is Canada. If you're wondering where the United States is, well, there's a lot of especially recreational legalization is happening in mid-level and smaller states. Now that places like California are coming online, and even a state like Massachusetts, with a huge, urban center in Boston. When states like that come online and more growers come online, obviously the United States will eventually become number one in these categories. But for now, the United Kingdom is one of the reasons for that. A major reason for that is GW Pharmaceuticals and their product known as Sativex is a spray that supposedly helps with the spasticity of multiple sclerosis. It's authorized in 30 countries, mostly for MS spasticity, muscle spasticity. So that's why the UK exports so much cannabis. Is usually in the form of the product known as Sativex, which you may have heard of from GW Pharmaceuticals. But it is crazy that people in the United Kingdom are not allowed legally even to use medical marijuana. They're creating all this medical marijuana and exporting a ton of it, literally tons of it, while producing almost 100 tons of legal cannabis. And the people who actually live in the United Kingdom, they can't legally access that. That is crazy. You can check that story out at marijuanatimes.org. This next story is from normal.org. A Missouri medical marijuana initiative effort reaches signature Milestone, proponents of a Missouri voter initiative effort to legalize and regulate the therapeutic use and distribution of cannabis statewide, which is a very long way of saying medical marijuana. They have surpassed 200,000 signatures. Advocates must collect a total of 160,000 qualified signatures in 6 of Missouri's 8 congressional districts. They have till May 6th, 2018, so a little less than 2 months, in order to qualify the measure for the 2018 electoral ballot. The initiative permits patients, at the discretion of a physician, to cultivate limited quantities of marijuana or to obtain cannabis and cannabis-infused products from licensed facilities. The group behind the effort, New Approach Missouri, includes members of both National NORML as well as its state and local affiliates. So good news there in Missouri. They've been trying for quite a few years to get medical marijuana on the ballot in Missouri, and it looks like they finally may have a handle on it. They got 2 months to continue to collect signatures. They already have over 200,000, needed 160,000 qualified signatures. They want, 200,000 and 160,000. That's not a very good gap or ratio, however you want to look at it, when it comes to trying to get something qualified for the ballot, because a lot of them are going to be thrown out. A lot of the signatures are going to be thrown out. So they need to keep going, but they're already well on their way. Like I said, with 2 months to go, that's pretty good. So things are looking up in Missouri when it comes to medical marijuana, where they're not looking up. I'll take that back. They may now also be looking up in terms of hope for medical marijuana in Florida. Now, I know what you're saying. Hey, Joe, they already have medical marijuana passed in Florida. They don't have to get it on the ballot. Well, there's still no medical marijuana distribution system in Florida. It's March 13th, 2018. Amendment 2 was passed in Florida in November 8th, to be specific, 2016. So that's some 15 months ago? And they're still working on it. This story is from TampaBay.com. You may remember we've talked about the story quite a bit. Last we heard, the legislative committee overseeing the agency that is putting together regulations for medical marijuana in Florida, they were mad at the agency. The legislative committee was mad at the agency because the agency has been dragging their feet. They haven't been getting things done. For months, they didn't even respond to letters and queries from the legislative committee that oversees their work. And then when they finally did, they got raked across the coals in a hearing because of their excuses and trying to blame a possible further delay upon the committee, who for months asked the agency for answers of what was going on. So I think lawmakers there have come up with a solution that should get medical marijuana regulations flowing quickly in Florida. Making good on a threat, lawmakers withhold budget funds from the Department of Health over medical marijuana. Lawmakers agreed to withhold more than $1.9 million in salaries and benefits for the Department of Health over their medical marijuana delays. Materializing threats to use the legislature's budgetary power to force officials to move faster on implementation. The provision, which is embedded in the state budget, keeps money for department officials in reserve until medical marijuana regulations are implemented per the constitutional amendment that legalized it for medical purposes in 2016 and a subsequent bill passed by the legislature. Delays have dogged the process of obtaining and growing medical marijuana since the bill was passed, from a backlog of identification cards for patients to slowdowns in approving licenses and promulgating various regulations. Lawmakers have grown increasingly irate with the department's lack of progress, particularly after health officials failed to respond for months to letters from a committee expressing concerns with the agency's rules. What I just mentioned last month, a joint legislative committee took the director of Office of Medical Marijuana Use, Christian Bax, to task in person. The office has blamed legal and administrative disputes, including fallout from Hurricane Irma, for the slow progress in implementing cannabis for medical use. Really? The hurricane blocked some regulations for medical marijuana? Department spokeswoman Mara Gambinieri did not comment directly on the withheld funds, but said in a statement that the office had made progress on several rules and regulations, including some on edibles, signage, and dosing. What? 15 months, they've made some progress on several rules and regulations, including some on edibles, signage, and dosing. What is there to figure out? Dosing. What's the dose you want people to take? 10 milligrams? I think that's what it is in Colorado. 10 milligrams. Oh, you're done. You're done. Dosing's done. Hey, here's a regulation. Everybody in Florida, every dispensary in Florida, you have to sell in this dose. Personally, I think there should be more choices in dosing. But if you want to keep it simple, hey, here's 10 milligrams. That's the dose. Bam. Signage, what does that mean? For the front of the dispensary? How hard is it to make some rules for some signs? Are they talking about what's on the edibles? What's so hard about edibles? What do you need for edibles? Child-proof packaging. Warning labels with a clear symbol that tells children, don't eat this edible. Dosing. What doses are going to come in? Make those decisions. Figure it out. As I've said many times before on the show, you make regulations. That's your job. Just go do it. It's not that hard. I just did. I covered all that in what? 45 seconds? Go back and check the clock. I think it was pretty good. It was pretty quick. Anyway, she went on to say the department has made and will continue to make significant progress in the implementation of Amendment 2 and Section 381.986 Florida statutes, despite the special interest involved in this new industry. Who cares? What does it have to do with you making a regulation? So let's say special interests want 20 milligram doses or 17.5 milligram doses. So what? Pick a number. Like I said, I think Colorado is 10 milligrams. If you correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, because I haven't looked it up. I'm going from memory. But pick a dose. Pick a dose. Say that's the dose. That's it. You're done. I don't know. Again, as I also said before, regulations aren't my job. Maybe I'm simplifying it way too much. That's fair. That'd be a fair criticism. But I don't think it should be that hard. I mean, what else you have to do with dosing? You say it's 10 milligrams. You make a regulation where it says, well, you have to, on the packaging, you have to put this is 10 milligrams a dose. Serving size, one dose equals 10 milligrams. Send it to the printer. Print them up. Pick a symbol. You know, little poison symbols. With the skull and the crossbones. He has a marijuana leaf on his head. Oh, you're done. Something tells kids, stay away from this. Child-proof packaging. It's not like other states haven't done this. It's not like they can't look at Colorado or Washington or Oregon or anywhere else with an extensive dispensary system when it comes to medical marijuana and say, well, is what they did okay? Is that cool? Is that cool with everybody? Everybody raise your hand if that's cool. We're cool. Let's do that. 15 months. 15 months they've been doing this. But I forgot there was a hurricane. Just threw a wrench in the works, man. It blew away their notes. The hurricane blew away their notes for the dosing and the edibles and the signage. And, well, that's, they can only do what they can do. But this, with only $2 million in salaries, watch how quick this gets done now. That'll prove my theory that it was pretty simple to begin with, because now all of a sudden it'll become very simple. I say in the next few weeks, I'll be doing a story on here saying how right I was about how quickly it would happen, and now this agency, the Department of Health, will come out and say, "Oh, here's all the regulations. We're done. Give us our money. We did it in a couple of weeks. Couldn't do it in 15 months." But once they said, "No, you're going to get $2 million in your salaries," well, look, we got it done. We found our notes. It blew on the other side of the room from the hurricane. Now he found them, and here you go. Here's the regulations. Absolutely ridiculous. Mark my words. It's my prediction. Florida medical marijuana regulations will be finished very soon. Thank you to Natureside Cannabis for being a part of the show. The Marijuana Time Show and being a proud sponsor. NatureSideCannabis.com. Check out their organic, all-natural pesticides. Thanks to everybody who likes, shares, comments on the videos of the Marijuana Time Show. Also, make sure you check out Apple Podcasts. Search the Marijuana Times on there for the audio-only version of the show. If you'd like to sponsor the show, email us info@marijuanatimes.org. Thanks, everybody. Keep helping us spread the truth about cannabis. Share these videos far and wide. And thanks, everybody, for watching the Marijuana Times Show.